Welcome to the webbiest part of my home, guys. If you're new here, I'm Amanda Norris, and I live here in Pittsburgh with my husband and two girls and all of the many spiders in this basement. I've come across so many just since I came down to do this. I was going to film down here just for kicks, but no, we're gonna move this party upstairs. So this week in our Blossom and Root Early Years 1 Week 7 curriculum, we did all the spider and web stuff. I am so pumped that you are here to do this with us, and I hope that you will do all the things you gotta do to come back again every week. So make sure that you like, subscribe, check us out on Instagram at Foursquare Schoolhouse too. So as you know, in Nature Study this week, we explored spider art and we found a few webs to examine through the week, just throughout our normal activities. So in the backyard, on the porch, obviously, as you know, in the basement. And then I made up a little ball of white yarn to spin our own web on the porch. And I just helped initially to get it started and then to get it hooked up over the awning. And then Lucy took over and did the vast majority of this project independently. And we ended up with a pretty decent web-like environment on a rainy day, which was cool. I brought down some little black socks to stick in there, and Lucy pretended that those were bugs and jumped out to eat them. She also ate her sister and lots of bubbles. Overall, it was a good way to spend the afternoon, and it had the added benefit of being a little bit of an obstacle course for everyone and their mother to have to find their way out of every time we had to go inside for something. So it's not something I would recommend doing after you have a lot of coffee. Next up in our week of web creations, we made a hot glue web stencil. Lucy sat beside me on the counter while I did the hot part, of course, using some wax paper as the base. Then we made some little spiders to go on there too, which was not a part of the curriculum, but I'm really glad that we did it. That kind of made it. It took a little while to do this, so it was a good time to have some conversation about spiders and about how important spiders are. And we talked about how they like to eat other bugs that can bite us or other bugs that like to eat our garden. So after we talk about stuff like this, I usually like to have her summarize what we did or what we discussed when her dad comes down for lunch or for coffee. He works upstairs and we see him throughout the day. So she talked about it with him too, which was probably a better conversation because he is more genuinely okay with spiders. I just kind of fake it till I make it, even though I don't think I will ever make it. So it was a little bit tough to get this off of the wax paper, and it pretty much just all stuck on the back still. Like I just kind of ripped the paper off from outside the lines and it stuck onto the glue still. I was hoping that just the glue would come off so that we could kind of use it as a window cling or something, but no such luck. I don't know if wax paper has two sides. If so, I feel like I might have used the wrong one, but once I did get it off, I taped it on a piece of cardboard, and Lucy chose her dot markers to paint. The idea of stenciling was less appealing to her than just painting the web and spiders. So that's kind of just where this activity went. And it's still floating around here. She's been playing with it off and on. So it's kind of like we had this activity, but then we also gained a new toy that she can continue to play with in different ways. So we have all the dandelions right now in our yard, and Lucy appreciates them as only a child can, right? So the dandelions painting for this week was familiar and it was well liked. And right away she noticed that this painting was different from those that we've done in the past few weeks because she said that this one had a lot of zigzags and the others had a lot of dots. Now, we saved the dandelions that we pressed a couple of weeks ago for a different activity, and we used them in this art activity along with some scrapbook paper that I just had laying around. I thought that she would be really into ripping pieces of paper because it's fun, right? Ripping paper, but she really wasn't. She only wanted to rip a few pieces off to stick in the middle of the paper, and then she really just wanted to glue on larger pieces. She stuck on the little group of dandelions there at some point too, and we talked about how this is a good example of mixed media. It's something that we do fairly often, using different things together. I leave art supplies out for her that she can incorporate into her art in whatever way she wants, and this was just another example of that she got to do for her schoolwork. Now I have two printables that I'm going to link down in the description for you this week. One of them I already linked another week, but we used it again here as we talked more about instruments that we are hearing in music. So I do have this little instrument printable that you can check out. We did branch off a little bit here and listen to a lot of different artists and bands to see what sort of instruments we could recognize in different kinds of music. I would totally recommend listening to some Dave Matthews Band here. We also learned how to count to 10 in Hawaiian this week, which was fun. We did the little video in the parent guide and really did not love it. So I'll link the one that we ended up watching a million times. It's really catchy and it really helps with remembering. Now this next printable was mostly for me, to be honest. I kind of felt like I needed a visual to go along with the song. So I made up a little sheet with the numbers and their pronunciation. In the end though, it was really nice for Lucy to have this too, because she could look at the numbers as I pointed to them. I think that this will definitely help to sort of form those good, strong connections between the language and the actual numbers that that language represents. Next up, we made a little card to send to someone. I named lots of people that she could make something for, and she chose her cousin. He's about a year older than she is. The parent guide said that we could make up a beautiful card together, but I just left this one up to her. She can make her own beautiful card. I like it when her ideas have the space they need to shine through without mine getting in the way, you know? So she wrote the letters of her name, the first letter of his name, lots of random letters, and some little guys. And she used her special smelly crayons that live in her morning basket. And she used some blue and orange because he loves blue and orange and Blippi. And then we did the address together, stuck on a stamp, and walked down the street to the mailbox together. He just moved into a new house and he graduated preschool this week. So I think that she chose the absolute perfect person to send something to. So we actually already had the book for this week. We read it together on the porch, and then she also read it for a little while by herself. And it's really always so much fun to hear her version of books and to see those little gears turning. Now, there were two more web activities in this section. The first was a white crayon web with watercolors. So just a heads up, the parent guide said that we would need to push really hard for this one, and like they actually made a point of putting that in the notes. So I took that to heart and I broke my darn crayon, guys. So really, as it turns out, you don't have to push that freaking hard. So, you know, learn from my mistakes. But this was really fun for her to do and for me to do, and like to watch the web appear. And she ended up adding so much paint. There was really nothing left of the web in the end, but we really didn't need the product, right? The process for this one was definitely the good part. We also did some paper plate weaving with yarn and a blunt crochet needle. I said before that we were going to have more needle time, so here we are. This was good. And I just cut off maybe about 2 feet at a time and tied it off. I had to keep doing this over and over since that went pretty quickly, but I wanted to keep it at like a manageable length for her to work with and to pull through. So this was a great project. I love introducing her to different fiber arts, and it's all stuff that I already had laying around. Now, if I were to do this week again, and I might end up doing it again with Hazel, I would connect that big yarn web activity that we did on the porch to this section, like kind of link it with the book, because then we could have read the book, built the web, and I could have kind of pestered her as she was doing it to do different things. And she could have ignored me, you know, being too busy, sort of acting that out. I think that would have been fun, but hindsight, you know? Our kitchen classroom experience this week was mostly really just about noticing. So that's what we did through the week, just sort of noticing and recognizing and identifying the different types of tastes that foods have, and how lots of times there are different tastes existing together in the same food, like sweet and salty. Derek's birthday was this week, so we got to make a cake together, which gave Lucy the chance to really explore her love of sweet things. She is so my kid. And he also put some chicken and pork in the smoker too, which Lucy actually tried. She is somewhat picky, but she's getting better, and it's exciting to see her trying new things. And these lessons are sort of coming around for us right at the best time. So we're talking about things like taste and texture, and I don't know if there's any correlation, between her wanting to try new things and us having these lessons, but whatever it is, I will take it. We make biscuits a lot on the weekends, and I feel like I've absolutely mentioned this before, but we love them. And it's always a great way to explore different toppings and stuff. I'm just going to throw in a little recommendation for you all at this point to try this beauty right here. It is a biscuit, a little bit of butter, some blackberry peach preserves that I found at Marshall's, but you could probably use whatever jams or jellies that you want, and white cheddar cheese. And it is so freaking good. And it happened to have a good combination of tastes that we could talk about. We also had this day here that was all about orange. We got to talk about what was the same, like the color, obviously, and then what was different, like the taste and textures. I also made up this little muffin tin here full of whatever I scrounged up in the kitchen and the pantry, and the girls watched a little bit of a movie together while they shared this, and it was just really fun. We all kind of sat there together and talked about what things looked like, what things tasted like, what we liked the most. We played I Spy, like I spy something sweet, I spy something salty, and we matched things too, like according to color, according to how they taste, what they feel like, 2 crunchy things, 2 orange things. And it was just a fun way to mix up snack, to mix up the presentation and get them experiencing their food, thinking about it in a different way. Now, one more way that we did explore taste this week was actually through pretend play in the mud kitchen outside. And this was something that Lucy just initiated through her play. So she was using rocks, leaves, and mint from the side of the house and mixing those together to make muffins, to make stew. And then she was talking in her play about what things tasted like. So what her stew tasted like in comparison to what her muffins tasted like. So that was just a really fun way to extend on our kitchen activities for the week. Now I'm going to throw a little extra section in here too, starting with this spooky spider house that I made one morning while Lucy was sleeping with her cozy couch in the living room. So I found these webs in the basement while I was cleaning the other day and figured they would be perfect. And you might recognize Lucas in there from last week, and there's his buddy Harry. We obviously listened to No Doubt, to their Spiderweb song, This Is My Jam. And I feel a strong sense of like 90s girl obligation to make it their jam too. And then there's Charlotte's Web, of course, and the Spidey and Friends show on Disney+. And then there's also Workin Moms, which might seem incredibly inappropriate because it most definitely is incredibly inappropriate, but the last season of that show has a tarantula named Tula. So Lucy absolutely does not watch that show with us, but I did show her the parts with the spider. All right, so thanks for hanging out in the webs with us this week, guys. Make sure that you grab your free printable in the description. Also, be sure to like and subscribe if you'd like to come hang out again soon. Check us out on Instagram at Foursquare Schoolhouse. And yeah, leave a number and we'll call you back. See you next time.